Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news, lots to get into, and I suppose a story that we're going to start off with, not a surprise to me, could be a disappointment to us all. Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea moves closer. Fabrizio Romano is discussing it this morning. Not a surprise. For the second time in 6 months, I've had really good information from Chelsea Football Club, and I often wish you got this sort of information from United. You do get information from United, but it's so diluted a lot of the time. You know, you'll get told we're in for this player, that player, this player, that player, and you think, well, we can't be in for all of them. But got told about Sterling a month before anybody else at the start of June last year. Got told at the start of the week that Chelsea are seriously considering just paying the release clause for Enzo Fernandez and blowing United and Liverpool out of the water 6 months early because neither of them can do anything till the summer. And lo and behold, that's what Chelsea are doing. This is the update from Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea are now in direct talks with Benfica for Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea want to offer a huge fee instead of paying the release clause in one solution. Benfica always want the €120 million release clause in full. But Fabrizio is saying that it's understood that Enzo Fernandez has already said yes to Chelsea. Liverpool and Man United have made no bid as of now. And you know what? It echoes the situation with Cody Gakpo from Boxing Day. I think that I've heard a lot of people over the last 2 days when I've mentioned this Chelsea story and I tweeted it. I've had a lot of people saying he wants to come to United, Mark. He won't go to Chelsea. And I'm like, do you actually understand the game you support? Like, Cody Gakpo wanted to come to Man United. He's wearing a Liverpool shirt. If Enzo Fernandez wants to come to Manchester United, he's going to wear a Chelsea shirt. This is the modern game. You might have an idea of where you want to go. You might dream of playing for Real Madrid. But if Barcelona offer you the money and Real Madrid don't, you will end up wearing a Barcelona shirt. That is modern football. You cannot sit there going, I want to play for Man United, and Man United don't bid for you, and then Chelsea come in. It's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. And it is disappointing, and I think for the second time in a week, Erik Ten Hag will be sat there. And I go back to what Ten Hag said a couple of weeks ago, talking about new ownership. And he said that it's exciting because it will mean more investment, and that's only a good thing when you're trying to build something. I'd say that excitement is still there for Erik Ten Hag, but it's also a frustration because when teams like Chelsea and Liverpool and other clubs, they can spend now. We can't spend now. So if you're Erik Ten Hag and you've got ideas of players that you want to bring in to take us to the next level, those players are going to your rivals because we are handbraked. You know, we are basically sat there going, we're not doing anything. And we are, look, I will repeat it, we are getting to a point where we're going to miss out on top four. We're going to write the season off because of our inability to actually compete. And it's, you know, I think it's getting beyond competing for the top four now. You're looking at players that would have been really useful for us that are now not going to Real Madrid, not going to PSG. They're going to Chelsea and Liverpool. They're going to direct rivals who are, you know, an issue for us. So I'm disappointed. I've got to be honest, I never really expected Manchester United to get Enzo Fernandez. I couldn't see how this deal could happen. I think we've almost been played a little bit here, and I don't normally defend Man United on this, but I think we've been used here. I think this is a play by Enzo Fernandez, agent, maybe Benfica. Lasers are short arm, long pockets, says Tumbleweed. You know, remember a couple of other days, a couple of days ago, I think there was a story coming out of Argentina or Brazil saying that Enzo Fernandez preference is Man United and Man United are favourites to get Enzo Fernandez. And why I always think those stories are bullshit is because 2 days later he's signing for Chelsea. So what does a story like that even mean? Oh, United are favourites and he wants to come to United, and yet 2 days later he's signing for Chelsea. When will we favourites then? At what point will we favourites? How can you be favourites to sign a player when you can't afford a player? What you know, and this is what I mean. We do get used. We do get used because how could we ever be favourites to sign Enzo Fernandez when we haven't got the money to buy him? It's just a story that's been circulated to generate what's happened. And I think Chelsea have done the right thing. I do think they've done the right thing. I think they've gone and, acted quickly to secure a signing that no one else is capable of doing at the moment. But it leaves United in a position where, our backup for Casemiro is still Scott McTominay. Our backup for Eriksen is still Fred. And that's, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to compete like that. We need to get this sale done, and we need to get it done ASAP. But unfortunately, in the meantime, the January transfer window is looking a massive concern because we are just not able to compete. So if you're tuning in a little bit late, breaking story this morning from Fabrizio Romano is that Chelsea are in talks with Enzo Fernandez. He's agreed to go to Chelsea. It's now between Chelsea and Benfica to sort out a fee, which I think they will. I said this, was it yesterday or the day before? Chelsea have got form for this. They did it in the summer under Todd Bowley as well. If they see a player they want, they'll just go and try and get it, and they'll spend the money to do it. So, and to be fair to Chelsea, people will say, "Oh, they spent a load of money in the summer." That was for Tuchel. So this is Potter's first transfer window, and they're going to back him, aren't they? Glazers buying us on debt and asking for $6 billion is daylight robbery, says Dazzo. I honestly feel someone should be stepping in and stopping this. $3 billion tops, says Dazzo. Welcome to the Members Club, Michael Blaine. Appreciate that. So look, I think that Enzo Fernandez is a good player. Unfortunately, every club's got it. Everyone's got it. You get these complete and utter prats who start going, Enzo's going to be a United player, and I'm like, absolutely nothing, and less about how Manchester United is run. And it's those sort of people that get people really, unrealistically excited, and then they get unrealistically frustrated. I never thought we were going to get Enzo Fernandez. I know how this club is run. The only way we were going to get him is if we waited till the summer and we had new owners who could afford it. In the January market, I actually had people messaging me saying, it looks like we're going to go for Enzo Fernandez. And I'm like, we can't afford £37 million for Cody Gakpo. Where are we going to find £100 million for Enzo Fernandez? It's not going to happen. The best we can hope for is that Enzo Fernandez stays at Benfica until the summer. We get a new owner in, and then we bid. But then we're going to be competing. And this is something important to remember. Even when we get new owners, that doesn't mean we can beat Chelsea or Liverpool or Man City to a signing. You've still got John Murta until he's sacked, and whoever else is involved in transfers until they're sacked. Just because we've got a new owner who's rich doesn't make us not a circus act in transfers. Our reputation at transfers is terrible. And I'm telling you now, if there's a player you want to buy in the summer, let's pretend Jude Bellingham, and we get new owners in, I guarantee you in April, we'll have certain fans going, we can buy whoever we want now, we've got new owners. Wrong answer. Just because you've got loads of money doesn't mean that we haven't got the same prats going around trying to do transfers. If we want to have a good summer transfer window, we need new owners, and we need new director of football, new recruitment. And we're not going to have that for the summer. So I don't want to be a realist here, but ultimately, if we get new owners in by March, we'll still be crap in the transfer window because we'll still have the same crap people going round overpaying, in their big oversized shoes and stupid hair, clowns running the circus. So if I'm the new owner of Man United, one of the first things I'm doing is getting in proper recruiters very, very, very quickly, which obviously we haven't got a lot of time to do that. I think people expecting this summer to be an amazing summer, I think already you can tell it's going to be very difficult because time will run out. The new owners will come in and you're asking them to hit the ground running with staff that they haven't even recruited, or jobs for the boys, as Daniel Joel says. So look, I don't think, I do, on a positive note, I think it's very hard to predict United's next 18 months. But if you're asking me to, take a punt and predict our next 18 months, Europa League football next year and trying to get in the top four again this time next year. I think the next 18 months are going to be very much the same as the last 3 years. I think it's all about, can we get in the Champions League? Can we win a trophy? I don't think it's will we. I think it's going to be very much in the air. And that's even if we get new owners, because what people forget is if you if you buy a mansion that's been run into the ground, Manchester United, you don't just move in one day and then suddenly it's the mansion that everybody wants. It takes time. You've got to renovate it. You've got to redecorate it. You've got to, put right everything that's gone wrong. I think people think this new owner, and even if this new owner is a good owner, I think people think it's just going to be like a light switch and everything's brilliant again. It's going to take time. It will. Raja, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. So, Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea yet again. I mean, it's not actually confirmed yet, but it sounds very much like it will be. Remember, it's not even January yet. It's not January until Sunday. Chelsea in advanced talks with Benfica over a fee, and Enzo Fernandez wants to go to Chelsea. This is all via Fabrizio Romano. It's coming in from very good sources. I heard about it a couple of days ago. So that looks like it's going to happen. And whether you get frustrated about that because you're a United fan and you'd like him at United, I'd look at it at a different angle. I would go, hold on a minute. Who's in the top four at the moment? Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Spurs. Liverpool are not in the top four. They've got a better squad and they're buying players. Chelsea are not in the top four. They've got a better squad and they're buying players. Right. We're not in the top four. We're not buying players. Teams who are not in the top four are buying players. This is a bit of a problem to get top four, isn't it? And that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I'm just looking at our rivals who are not in the top four, and they're strengthening. And I think it makes Ten Hag's job very, very difficult indeed. Brainrot says that's a wake-up call. We need to tone down our expectations, at least for this season. But absolutely, I think, I don't want to say it, but how could any United fan think that a new owner is going to make everything okay? How could you ever think that? You don't know who the new owner is. You don't know what their expectations are. You don't know what their plan is. And also, you don't know how competent they are. Just because we've got a rich new owner doesn't mean United are suddenly going to be okay again. I mean, we're all going to pretend that we are, but there's so much that needs to be done. Their priority might be, I'm not going to spend on the team until we've built the stadium. Look at Arsenal with the Emirates. They didn't really buy players in the 6-7 years they were building that. So nobody knows what the plan is going to be. And also, my biggest fear, as I said yesterday, is that as part of this sale, we'll still end up with the same director of football and the same CEO and the same people on the board. I'm not convinced that they're going to clear house. I think they're going to come in and go, tell us how to run it then. You've been running it for 10 years, which is what tends to happen with investors. Investors will come in and go, we want the people who run the club to still be there, and we'll just sort of work in the background. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I think nothing can be as bad as the Glazers, but it doesn't mean it's going to get any better when you've got, the same. If you've got the same CEO, the same director of football, the same board members, all right, you've got new owners who might want to spend a bit more, but we've wasted $1 billion over the last 10 years. I've got a feeling that even if United gets sold, the Glazers will still have a part in the club, just not in the eye of the media. Says anything with Tom. Well, I would hope if that was going to happen, that would get exposed, to be honest with you, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Just an update on João Felix as well. We do have an update on João Felix. This is coming in from Diego Simeone. So he said this, the Atletico Madrid manager, on João Felix. He said, look, while he's here, I'll try to get the best out of him for the club, and then we'll see what's going to happen. At the moment, Fabrizio Romano is saying that João's agent, Jorge Mendes, is still in contact with English clubs. I mean, that's just a holding statement, isn't it? You could imagine Erik ten Hag saying the same about Aaron Wan-Bissaka or any player he's looking to move on at the moment. But, I mean, look, update on João Felix. There are similarities, as I said before, as to what happened with Ronaldo. You've got the same agent trying to, find a deal, and most people are saying the deal is too expensive, but it doesn't bode well for Manchester United, that João Felix deal at the moment. I think on a very basic level, the player himself is very, very good and would solve a lot of problems for us, but the financial package is clearly too steep for Manchester United and other clubs. But I don't want to say the words, but I will anyway. I just get the feeling that they're looking at Memphis because he's the cheapest option, and I just think if João Felix is going to cost you millions to bring in on loan, and Memphis Depay is going to cost you far less, you know what United are going to be pushing, and Eric Ten Hag might just take Memphis because he's Dutch and he knows more. I don't know. I just fear that we'll go for Memphis. Can we buy by selling in January? Our last hope, maybe, says Joseph. No, I can't see us selling anybody in January, mate. And Connor says, Shea Adams, Premier League proven, quick, strong, good with the ball at feet, heading strong and tenacious, would be perfect and cheap and would play second fiddle, says Connor. I don't think we'd have the money to buy him from Southampton, even if I wanted him to, Connor. Again, I don't agree with you that he's anywhere near good enough to play for a top 4 team, even as a bench player. I don't think Shea Adams could start for Everton. I don't think he's that good, but United wouldn't. What I would say is we wouldn't be able to do that deal. I think people don't realise that we haven't got any money. You can come up with all these cheap options. I mean, I can see the name of Embolo in there as well. Maxwell says Felix will go to Chelsea. Look, many of you have mentioned Thuram. He's got 5 months left on his contract, and then he's free in the summer. Even if you went to Mönchengladbach and said, we want to buy Thuram, now they're going to go, well, yes, he's going for nothing in the summer, but we want something if you're going to take him in January, so we want 10 million. I don't think United have got 10 million. I just don't think we've got money to go and get anybody, no matter how cheap you think that they are. So I think it's going to be. I think it's take a deep breath time, because I don't know what United are going to do. I'm hopeful that we're going to get João Felix, but I think it's very obvious that's going to be financially limiting. And as Right Height says, we're broke. And the interesting thing is, when I was speaking to this Chelsea source on, I'm losing track of days here now because of the Christmas period, but a couple of days ago I put the tweet out, you can see it on my timeline, and I was told that Chelsea are going to seriously go for Enzo Fernandez and probably play the release clause. And that Chelsea source said as well, Chelsea will sign at least 2 players in January, at least. They're expecting 3 or 4, but they will sign at least 2. That's in a January transfer window, and Chelsea bought players in the summer as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think some people might look at it and go, "Oh God, it's ruining football, this, that, and the other." It's not ruining football, is it? It's a football club that is ambitious, that wants to close the gap on Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, who had to change their manager after the summer transfer window, and is not going to not take advantage of a transfer window that is there in front of them. I mean, the January transfer window has changed. Our owners keep trying to pretend that it hasn't, but it has. Manchester United will still put it out there that they like to focus on the summer transfer window. And the answer is why? The question is why? Why do you want to focus on the summer transfer window? Why do you focus on the summer transfer window when proper clubs don't? They focus on the January one as well. It's money. We don't want to spend in January. We've got a balance sheet. We don't want to mess it up. That's why they don't want to spend in January. There is no logical football reason to ignore the January transfer window. But Man United try and put it out there that you should. Oh no, the January transfer window is for desperate people. The January transfer window is not the place to be doing good business. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and we should never ever swallow it again. The January transfer window has actually become, and we started it, some could argue, a very, very important part of the season. We got Bruno Fernandez in January, and we got top 4 because of it. If we didn't buy Bruno in that January, we wouldn't have got top 4. We've seen it with Spurs. Spurs did it with Kulusevski, and they did it with Bentancur, and we saw it with Liverpool last year with Diaz as well. He came in and made a massive difference to them. The January transfer window can be absolutely brilliant. And look, anybody who doesn't think the January transfer window can work, if Chelsea are going to buy Enzo Fernandez, one of the best young midfielders in the world, why are people obsessed with the summer transfer window? If you can buy one of the best young midfielders in the world in January, what's all this nonsense about the January transfer window being for panic buys? If you can go and buy the best attacker in the Eredivisie in January, what's all this talk about January being for panic buys? If you can go and buy Portugal's best up-and-coming player in January, what's all this talk about panic buys? The reality is United are still living in a world where they think they can manipulate the fan base into things that existed maybe 10 years ago. You know, when Harry Redknapp was in charge of Portsmouth or Spurs or whatever, yeah, you know, you'd see a double signing of stupid value, panic to try and stay up, whatever. But those days are gone now. We're living in a world where the Premier League's the biggest league in the world, the most competitive league in the world. And if you're going to ignore 31 days where you can sell and buy halfway through a season, then you're gonna write your season off. From an investment point of view, Arctic Fox says it makes no sense to buy in Q1. Wait 6 to 8 months and you can buy it cheaper, as United are set up for failure, says Arctic Fox there. The club is no more broke than I am rich, says Dad Sweets. It's just a cop-off line to say why they won't spend, says Catherine Sherry. Yeah, but you know what? Some United fans still swallow it. They still do. They'll go, yeah, January markets. Wait till the summer. Let's wait till the summer because the January market is too difficult. There are certain players you can't buy in January. We can't buy Osimhen. He's not going to leave Napoli, but that's not because you can't get him in the January transfer window. That's because he's very happy at Napoli, and Napoli don't need to sell at any price. You can get Enzo Fernandez out of Benfica because he's got a release clause, and Benfica would happily take that release clause. So, of course, but that's the same in the summer. Like, that's nothing to do with January. That's the same in the summer. There'll be players in the summer you can't buy. You know, you can't go and buy Marcus Rashford from Manchester United in the summer once he's signed his contract. Not leaving, is he? So that's you know, last January transfer window was massively important. We ignored it. This January transfer window is massively important and we're ignoring it again. Nathan Pitt, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I just want to bring this in as well. You know, I haven't really spent a lot of time on social media over the last week because it's Christmas, family time, etc. So I know that it's like anything gets clipped, isn't it? That's just the way of the world now. So short form content's everywhere, TikTok, this, that and the other. As I said, our yearly review, which went up on Christmas Day last week, full of clips. If you want to use them on TikTok, whatever, reactions, more, go, you know, fill your boots. But my attention was drawn to something I'd said, I don't know, might have been this week, and some prats decided to, you know, I say prat, they just don't like me, do they? They watch the content, but they don't like me. They take it out of context to try and ridicule me. You know, people have been doing it for years. Thank you very much for the self-promotion. And effectively, it was a question I got asked by one of you. So I was actually interacting with this community, responding honestly, got clipped, look at this dickhead. Blah, blah, blah. And basically what it was, and I still don't understand why people have a huge problem with it, because I'm going to repeat it anyway. It's basically asked, if United get new owners, but they want to sack Ten Hag, do you want those new owners? And I said, no. No. And then basically got clips and people were like, look at this idiot. He would refuse new owners to keep Ten Hag. Well, that wasn't the full question I was asked. I was asked whether if a certain owner wanted to buy Man United, but they were going to sack Ten Hag, would you want that owner? And I said, no. But I still fail to understand what the issue is. I wanted Ten Hag to be our manager. I'm 100% behind him, and I think, whilst I can't commit and say he's definitely going to be a success, this is the manager I want at Manchester United. This is the manager that if he'd stayed at Ajax and Pep left Man City or Klopp left Liverpool, they would interview. He's that good. So, sorry for not being a soulless mercenary that I'm not loyal. I wouldn't swap certain Man United players for certain players who play for other clubs, even though they're better, because I am loyal to Manchester United players. And I'm certainly loyal to the manager. I'm not going to take Middle East money or Sir Jim Radcliffe or whoever else but the only reason I get them is if they sack Ten Hag. Like, look, I understand the modern football game is about money. I get that. And I understand that to win you need money. But I don't need to sell my soul for football as well. You do it, let Man United do it, let Man City do it, but I don't need to do it. I know what football is to me, I know why I love football, I know why I love Manchester United. Erik Ten Hag is the manager and has my full support. I'm not going to go, well, yeah, I will take that owner and they can get rid of Ten Hag as well because they've got 20 billion in their back pocket to spend on a new stadium and Mbappe. Fuck off. No, I won't go that far. I do not want Ten Hag sacked to get a certain type of owner. It's a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical scenario, and it won't happen because I won't get the vote on it anyway, and neither will you. There's not an owner out there who's going to go, Goldbridge, I've got 20 billion to spend in the first 2 years on Man United. It's up to you. You'll have to sack Ten Hag for me to buy the club. I'm never going to be in that scenario. But if I was in that scenario, fuck off. Fuck off with your 20 billion. I don't want Ten Hag to be sacked. I'd rather go for somebody who has got 5 billion to spend and wants to keep Ten Hag. So clip it up, ridicule it all you like. I don't get the issue. It's my opinion. I wouldn't sacrifice Ten Hag to get a multi-rich owner. I wouldn't do it. Because it's, it's like football with a cheat code. I'd know it was a cheat code. I'd know what I've sacrificed to get it, and I'm not doing that. I think you've got to give Ten Hag the opportunity to rebuild this football club, whoever the new owner is, and I would not be happy with whoever came in and sacked him. Simple as that. Mark, Arsenal usually buy cheap and young players and still getting results. Not here to banter or anything, just genuine curiosity, says Ragaf. And Mark, I didn't mean buy players in January. I meant it makes no sense to buy the club in Q1, as they will be able to buy the club cheaper later in the year, says Arctic Fox. Thank you very much. And Karan says, in my honest opinion, the way these morons are behaving, it seems that they already have a deal in place to sell the club. I want these Glazers to go ASAP, says Karan. I've heard a few people talk about that, Karan, actually. Welcome to the Members Club, Nathan Pitt, by the way. If you want to join, click the join button. Get your badge next to your name. Thanks everyone who's tuning in. Have you heard the news about Pele, Mark, says Townie? Well, yeah, if you saw my Twitter last night, you would have seen it. It's very sad for football, isn't it? The passing of Pele, and some wonderful tributes last night. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody, of course, but very, very sad news. And another legend of the game passes away. So yeah, thoughts on obviously with with football really, because that's it's a loss for football, isn't it? In my honest opinion, the way these more just to go back to what Karen said, that the way that the Glazers are behaving, it looks like they've got a new a deal in place already. What do I know? I don't know. I've always believed that from what was coming out that the Glazers were going to sell to an American owner, and that it was already quite advanced. We will find out whether that's true. G-Man says, very sad, the king of football. Lovely tributes coming in from the chat as well, as expected. The only thing I would say is if the Glazers have already got a buyer in mind, and that's why they're not spending money in January, I'd be very concerned about who the buyer is. Because if you've got a deal in place, surely the people who are buying the club would be saying to the Glazers, there's an advance of 100 million, get some players in. It makes me worried who the buyer is if we already have a buyer in place, because why would they be sat back going, don't buy anyone in January? So there's positives and negatives, isn't there? I don't know whether we've got a buyer lined up already. Sale is definite, has to after no January spending, says United. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to sell, but what I'm saying is, if we've already got a buyer in mind and we're working on a deal, why would that buyer not be saying, buy me some players in January because we're not going to be in the Champions League and I don't want to inherit a club in the Europa League again? You could argue that missing out on the Champions League this year will be more damaging than any other year, because if Chelsea get in, they're just going to spend to stay. If Liverpool get in, probably gives them Bellingham, doesn't it? If Newcastle get in, they'll never drop out again. So it's not the year not to finish in the top four, is it? But I don't know. How do you join as a member? Says Travelbug TV. Just click the join button. I've got to just have a quick. Somebody just had a super chat there from somebody about this as well. Ahmad Diallo. Ahmad Diallo from Luke Killeen in the chat. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. Let's see if we can hit 1,000 likes. Ahmad scored a cracking goal for Sunderland last night. He's done really, really well recently at Sunderland. And lo and behold, highly predictably, you get Ahmad back in the team. He can solve our attacking issues. And yet, 3 months ago, people were saying Ahmad's shit. And those same people now are saying he's the best player in the world. Leave him in the Championship until the summer. Stop being impatient. He is a very, very talented player. I remember when we got him from Atalanta, and what some of the Atalanta senior pros were saying about him in training. Unbelievable player. Fabrizio's obviously from Italy, massive fan of Ahmad, says, you know, what a fantastic reputation he had before he even came to United. So we've got a player there that's not come through the youth system, that you know, he actually has a pedigree, and he actually is very talented. Now, obviously, he's had a few injuries. He was under Solskjaer, which never helps any player, and the Rangers deal didn't go that well. Funnily enough, he's now playing in the Championship, which I think is more competitive than the Scottish League, and he's performing really, really well. Keep him in the Championship. That's all I've got to say about Ahmad. Keep him in the Championship. It looks really exciting what he's doing at the moment, but we don't need to put a label on it. We don't need to start saying he's going to solve this problem, that problem, or any other problem. He might end up signing for Sunderland or a Championship club that gets promoted in the summer for 15 million. That might be the plan. You know, Palestri can't get a look in. I think he looks all right. Maybe Ahmad never gets a look in under Ten Hag. Maybe Ten Hag promotes him to the first team next year. I don't know. But there are only positives from this development if you are patient with it. And under no circumstances should we be bringing Ahmad back in January. Like, he is finally in the groove of development that we need him to be in, and he's performing well. Let's see if he can do it for the next 5 months in the Championship, because that's what we need to see. And it's great to hear. It's great to hear of any player that's doing well on loan. And, you know, finally, it looks like Ahmad's showing what he can do, and he's doing it in the English game. And the Championship's a great place to be doing it. Really, really is. And look, it is exciting, but it's nothing more than that. I don't think we need to, as I say, start, you know, dictating what we think should happen next. He's not 21 until July, so he's only 20 years of age. He's probably lost a year or two, to be honest with you. I think we all wanted to see him doing this at 18. But, you know, he's actually done very well to rescue his situation, because I actually thought the signing of him and Palestri by Solskjaer was just complete and utter panic, desperation, with no plan in place at all. And it was very obvious there was no plan in place for Palestri or Ahmad, because we didn't seem to know what to do with him. So, you know, it's great, and I hope Ahmad can continue. 100% take Kovacic if Enzo goes to Chelsea, says Duncan. Well, I'm a massive fan of Kovacic, but you can't just be taking Chelsea players they don't want anymore. C. Reggiano says, what's the Enzo news? We're live every morning at 10 o'clock, mate. So if you want to tune in at 10 o'clock, you would know what the news is. So figure that one out for you. UK, 10 o'clock, whatever time it is in your country. If you are in the UK, 10 a.m. is when we start. And YouTube has a replay button. So get yourself back to the start and figure it out. But no, on a serious note, we do start at 10 o'clock. So be a bit more punctual. Probably going to tell me his dog's died now, isn't he? Sorry, Mark, I'm here at 10 o'clock every morning for the last 6 years, but I woke up this morning and my dog's just passed away. No, on a serious note, so Fabrizio Romano has come out this morning and said that Enzo Fernandez has agreed to go to Chelsea, and that Benfica and Chelsea are now in talks about the fee, with Chelsea willing to pay the release clause. No other bids from anybody else, and there can't be any other bids from anybody else because we haven't got any money and Liverpool can't afford that either. So if you're a Chelsea fan, yet again, I said this about Chelsea back in October, I said the next 18 months Chelsea are probably the most exciting team to watch. I don't mean on the pitch, I mean in their transfer activity. The hint was there from the summer. It was a bit chaotic because they didn't get bought until later on in the summer, but their intention is to the deal they did. I think they got sold for 2.75 billion, didn't they? But there was a commitment to spend $1 billion in the first 3 years or something stupid like that. So they're going to spend, Chelsea. It was part of the reason that their owners got to buy the club. There is a commitment in writing to invest over £1 billion in that football club from Todd Bowley's consortium. So they're going to spend. Dumfries is a player that they're looking at as well, because obviously Reece James injury. So I can see Chelsea signing They're after Badashil as well. So I can see Chelsea, look, at least 2, probably 3 players. And then, what about financial fair play? He said, I mean, look, financial fair play, I refuse to really delve too deep into it. Keel says we've got no choice other than to go for cheap options. Thanks, Keel Robinson. I don't with regards to financial fair play, I hate talking about it because it doesn't actually exist. If UEFA or whoever is in charge of financial fair play actually gave a shit about it, there's no way certain clubs in the Premier League would still be winning titles. So financial fair play, bullshit. Again, I think financial fair play suits Manchester United. I think it suits the Glazers. We can't spend because of financial fair play. Well, other clubs have managed to find a way around financial fair play, haven't they? So you haven't got any money is the truth. It's nothing to do with financial fair play. If United, it's not like United have got 200 million and they're going, we can't spend it. We haven't got any money. That's the problem. So when people start talking about financial fair play, I find it quite irritating because that's not the reason we're not spending money. We haven't got the money to spend. It's nothing to do with financial fair play. And if financial fair play was such an issue, why did we spend stupid money on players that we shouldn't have spent stupid money on? And I keep getting clipped up as being anti-Anthony, and I'm like, well, you don't watch the United stand, you don't watch the watch-alongs. I like Anthony. I think he's the most exciting signing of the summer. But you can say we overpaid. Like, riddle me this. Some people don't understand this, right? We never should have spent £85 million on Anthony. He's a £50 million player. Oh, stop picking on Anthony. Fucking hell, he's only been here for 3 months and you're saying he's shit already. At what point did I say that? At what point did I say that? You know, if I'm walking around the Tesco supermarket and Mrs. Goldbridge says, let's go up this aisle here, and I go, no, I want to go up the next one. Oh, you just hate the dairy aisle, you do. No, I don't. I want to go to the next aisle. I've got nothing against dairy. I just want to go to the next aisle. And exactly the same thing with Anthony. I like Anthony. I said in my preview last night, I want to see him start in the front 3 for the next few games. Let's stick with him. Let's build his confidence and his consistency. But I'm not going to sit here and say, just because I like Anthony, that we should have spent £85 million on him. He is fucking overpriced by 30 million quid. And I'll argue it with anyone. I like the player, but he ain't worth more than 55 million. Argue. I don't give a shit. We overpaid. It's not his fault. It's not Ten Hag's fault. And it's not your fault. This is the prats who run the football club. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's the same twats who spent £80 million on Harry Maguire. It's the same people who gave Alexis Sanchez 450 grand a week. It's the same people all the time. They are absolutely useless and they should be called out. And, you know, I'm not digging out Anthony. We shouldn't have paid £85 million for him. He's not worth £85 million. He's worth £50 million. Top. Look at what he did in the Eredivisie. At nowhere in his career in Ajax was he worth more than 50 million quid. He just wasn't. He wasn't scoring 50 goals. He wasn't creating 30 assists. He was a very good, talented, exciting Brazilian footballer that we never should have spent more than 50 million quid on. And we spent 85. And that's not his fault. And in some ways, it makes me more defensive of him because he's got this price tag that he never should have. And that is a pressure. And it's not his fault. He shouldn't have that price tag around his neck because it makes him a moving target. So we have to defend him. But that is an example of why we've got no money to spend in January. And that is why people are talking about financial fair play. Because financial fair play can get in the fucking bin. Financial fair play should not be mentioned around Manchester United when we've got complete and utter lunatics running the club who think that spending £85 million on a £50 million winger and then going in January we can't afford anyone. Well, hold on a minute. This 35 million quid we should have right now that you completely wasted. And that's my point. It is the same as Maguire. It is the same as Wan-Bissaka. You could argue it's the same as Sancho. We've been doing it for years. And this is why, even if we get new owners, it doesn't matter how much those new owners spend if you've got the same prats spending your money. You can send these prats to Sainsbury's or Aldi and say, can you pop down to Sainsbury's or Aldi and get me a 24 pack of crisps? cost you about £3. They'll take a £50 note and come back with no change, and you'll go, what else did you buy? No, I just bartered with them at the checkout. What do you mean you bartered with them? There's a price tag on it. They're £3. What did you pay? $49.99. Why? Because I didn't realise there was a price tag. I just went up to the counter and said, there's £50. Will you take it? And that's what United have got. Doesn't matter how much money you've got if you've got complete and utter prats negotiating for you. And we need to sort that out. We do need to sort that out. So there's many steps, there's many rivers to cross with this United team. Exadra says there's a bit of a conspiracy theory, Mark. Maybe Rangnick got removed from the club because Murta thought he was a threat to his job. Oh, 100%. 100%. You know, Rangnick, the rumour is that Rangnick got absolutely betrayed by John Murta. Murta championed him to come to the club and then basically did him over to get rid of him because Rangnick came in and basically exposed how shit everyone was at their job. But look, that's in the past. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let's hope that United start doing something very soon. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Our preview for the Wolves game went out last night, so you can check out that on the homepage. We play Wolves tomorrow at 12:30, remember. New Year's Eve tomorrow, 12:30, Manchester United away to Wolves. Check out the preview, definitely worth a watch. I'll check you out in a bit. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you in a bit. We're live again at 8 o'clock tonight, and we'll see what happens a bit later.